Hi students, welcome back to the fall semester. This is Wu Hong here, introducing exercise 1 for you. So as you may have heard from Tuesday, August 25th morning's course introduction, we significantly changed the course structure in response to the course going entirely online this fall for the first time. So lectures and exercise introductions will be pre-recorded for you to watch outside of the class time, and most of the class sessions will be reserved for questions and answers for group and individual critiques. In order for us to use our class time very efficiently, every exercise now has 2 required submissions. The first one will be a draft due the night before the review class dedicated to that exercise. The final submission will be due after the review class as specified in our course schedule. Canvas is set up accordingly where you'd find separate locations to submit the drafts for review versus the final for grade, as is shown on the screen. Each draft and final submission will have specific requirements that are clearly laid out for you. So please make sure that you follow these specific guidelines and submit your files to the correct locations. Again, as you can see from the schedule here, exercise draft 1 is due on Wednesday, August 26, 10 p.m. We will review the draft together, all with individual students on Thursday, August 27th during class, and then the final exercise 1 submission is due Friday on the 28th. Well, now let's get to what exercise 1 is about. So this exercise has 3 parts. For the first part, we ask you to look through topographic maps and construction drawings to identify landforms using the terms that we provide to you on this first page of exercise 1 description. So if you look at the green box here, we have specified terms for the questions. For questions number 1 through 14, be sure to select from only these 7 terms on the left. Similarly, for questions 15 through 28, we have 8 terms that are defined for you, and you are to pick the term that best describes the landform or topographic position. So if you look beyond the description sheet, these are what the topographic maps looks like. Note that the area that we ask you to identify are the blue shaded area, not where the numbers are located. Okay? And after a few topographic maps, we have construction drawings. So these are the typical types of maps or drawings that usually you will be asked to identify landforms later in your career. Note that the same contour pattern could represent different landforms of different scales. So we're getting back to this page 1 description here. For instance, valleys and swells, they share the same contour pattern, but they are at different scales, right? So it is important to examine the landscape context in the maps or the drawings to determine the best term. So the second part, which is question number 29, we're on the answer sheet now. Question 29 asks you to draw 8 contour lines with appropriate horizontal spacing to form a concave slope. So for this one, be sure to go back to the lecture slide that explains the characteristics of the contour spacing of a concave slope. Note, this question asks you to draw contours in a plan view, not in section. That was a common mistake we have seen from past years. The third part, which is question number 30, is the most challenging one from this exercise. This one asks you to determine the flow paths of water drops originated at different locations. So during this process, it trains you to understand how water moves over the landforms described by the contours. So a few things to notice here. The first one is that the lightning bolts are where the water drops start. Second, the numbers in the contour breaks are contour numbers. They range from 1,300 to 1,500 feet. And note that they are all associated with major contours with heavier line weight. And then if you look at the number of contours between the two major contours, you'll be able to figure out that the contour interval is 200 feet, meaning that the elevation difference between the adjacent contours is 200 feet. This will be useful when there is a flat area or a saddle, when contours that appear to be next to each other can in fact be at the same elevation. So try to identify those flat areas as you figure out the direction of the water flow. The last thing I want to note here is that the plus LP label is short for low point. So really the key here is to remember that water flows downhill in a manner that's perpendicular to the contours. As complicated as this sounds, take a shot at this before Wednesday night. Come up with specific questions, and we can certainly go through them during Thursday's class together or individually. That's all for the introduction of exercise 1. Have fun identifying landforms. Thank you. Until next time.